I had no idea I was going to be a Grand Prix driver. But once you get in the car and you get the helmet on, you're in your office.
Super stuff from Coulthard.
I mean, it's the coolest job in the world.
Sport should be an emotional roller coaster, but modern sport doesn't allow that.
McLaren and Ferrari, what a head-to-head. And now they're running over and high-fiving and celebrating with each other.
But that's not the point. The point is passion.
Who do you think are the three greatest drivers you've ever driven with?
Senna, I think, was just naturally brilliant. He had something spiritual about him.
How is Michael at the moment?
Well, I think what we can assume,
V8, V10 or V12 and what?
V10.
Ooh.
If I had one car, I would have the...
This is a piece of corruption.
So 10 kilograms is about 3/10 of a second. So we go out to qualify for the Monaco Grand Prix, bam, you're on pole position, I'm 3/10 slower.
What's the most overrated car you've ever driven? Why does F1 need more arseholes?
Because arseholes usually cut through and win, don't they? So there's always that belief, or maybe not a belief. There's people project very often that in sport, to be successful, or in business, I guess, as well, you need a certain edge.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember when I was racing, back in the days when we used to have actual journalists writing and broadsheets, and obviously the tabloids were a big part of it as well. But there was a journalist from the Times that had commented that he felt I was too nice to be a champion. Now, he was correct in as much that I didn't become a champion. I'm not sure my ex-wife would say I was too nice. So it's very much it's very much a case of in what environment you actually see the person perform.
Yeah.
But I think, would all agree, there's a point where you learn in life, you learn in business, when to go with the tide of, well, look, I maybe would have done it slightly differently, but I haven't found a really good reason to argue against this, until you come up against something where you go, no, I absolutely believe in my direction is the way. And if that makes you the arsehole by going, no, we're doing it this way, and everybody goes, blah, they argue, and then just accept that we're going that direction, then if that makes you an arsehole, then so be it. But at a certain point, you've got to make decisions, haven't you?
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though. Obviously, the new breed of F1 driver, well, not the new breed, the current breed of F1 drivers, obviously they must have come up together through karting and known each other for years, like Leclerc, Norris, and like they're from opposite teams who have always had, like McLaren and Ferrari. I mean, what a head-to-head they've always had. And now they're running over and high-fiving and celebrating with each other, where Max is like, fuck you, I want to win, I'll ram you off the track. And, but that's, I think if you were to be in today's Formula One, you probably would be an arsehole.
Would you?
Well,
No,
some
do you know
people
what I
think
mean?
I am.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think these, like the friendships, they seem quite. I mean, you were still like, you wanted to win, and you wanted to do your best for your team.
Yeah, well, look, I occasionally will jump on a flight with some of the drivers from here because they all get along and it just makes sense, and we're all wanting to save the environment, so why take 5 private jets when you can take one? But there's what I put out there before. Mika Hakkinen and myself were teammates for 7 years. We both lived here. We'd get in 2 separate cars, get to Nice airport, get in 2 separate private planes, arrive in Germany or wherever we were, get in 2 separate cars, arrive at the circuit to sit in an office the size of this in front of each other. It made no sense from a sort of functionality, cost center point of view, but we just couldn't be in the same room as each other any longer than we needed to be. We're buddies today, ironically, but back then we weren't friends. And I think that sport has evolved, life as a sport has evolved. There's probably more of a maturity to the younger sports people than what we had at our time. We were probably more life mature, in that we could be left in the middle of a forest and survive. But they are relationship mature in a way that probably we weren't, because they're so much more engaged with even if they're not leaving their bedrooms, they're seeing a world on their devices that we didn't see. I grew up in a 3 television channel world, and remember very well, 4th channel coming on stream. And that's a long, going way back to the 80s, but that is ingrained in my DNA. And in my DNA, you were always a bit wary of people, competition. You didn't go there open arms. You sized them up. You kind of tentatively danced around the ring before you went in to sort of see what the power of the punch was. So it's a bit different nowadays, which is fine. I'm a great believer in you've got to live for your time, but equally not sort of try and grab on the belt of those that are the younger generation who are living in a different time. I really think that's important, isn't it? To let them live. That's their reality, and my reality was something different. Yeah.
But it was you that said F1 needs more arseholes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, well, a perfect example, and you say about the Ferrari team high-fiving with McLaren and Mercedes, Toto Wolff and Fred Vasseur are good friends. Zach Brown, they have the Mercedes engine, so they're not going to fall out with Toto.
No.
And
But
Mercedes.
that's above the driver level, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
but even
smart
at the
business level.
Absolutely. Yeah. But that said, at the business level, Ron Dennis didn't get along with, he might have respected Frank Williams, but he would have taken an engineer from right underneath Frank's nose. He would have taken a sponsor from it. He did.
Yeah.
Saudia was a sponsor of Williams back in the 80s, and that was linked into Tag Heuer, Mansour Ogier, and Ron took that away from Williams. And so there was they kind of had this business respect that whatever happened in business was fair. Providing,
I agree with that completely.
Yeah, and they didn't allow. Yeah,
nicking sponsors off your competitor?
The best saying you'll ever hear, what my dad's always told me, is business.
Yeah,
it's not personal.
Yeah,
it's business.
Yeah.
After that,
I remember that when I buy another car off you.
We'll go out for a pint afterwards. No problem.
Yeah.
No hard feelings. But business is
It's
business.
the old Jerry Maguire line, isn't it? This isn't show friends. This is show business.
Yeah.
And I often quote that in a way that sometimes everyone wants everyone to be really nice and getting along well, and that's lovely. But that isn't a movie. It isn't a Bond movie. It isn't Rocky. No. Sport should be an emotional roller coaster. It's a extension of life which allows people to get into their tribes and be part of either a winning side or a losing side with the belief that next time they can win. So I think that when everybody gets along too well, it takes away a little bit of that tension, that nervous energy, that need, that hunger, that desire. And Christian Horner not being involved in Formula One right now is actually bad for the show. But not Christian per se. It could be any other individual who was named whatever you wanted to call him. But he was a little bit loggerheads with Toto and Zach and Fred, and that was brilliant for the Netflix show. Take him out, and they're all getting along well. Who wants smashy and nicey? We want gladiators going at it.
Like back in the day when you in the 80s and stuff, where you seen a crash. I can't remember who it was who had the crash. Got out the car and they had a fight on the side.
That was Nelson Piquet,
That's unreal. That's proper. That's proper competitive. I mean, it just shows that. I mean, I'm sure it is same today. That it's not like they think less of it today than they did back then. But like you say, it was just the mentality of them was, this is what I'm here for, and I'm willing to put everything on the line to get in front of you. And it's what I've worked hard for is the frustration, and someone takes you out on the first corner, and it's human instinct, isn't it?
Let's
you
go.
Get out and I'm going to punch you.
The thing is, I think Max was probably the last driver to push another driver. He pushed Ocon in the sort of weighing area where they go and get weighed after the Grand Prix. And he was sanctioned in some way. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I remember James Hunt punching another teammate. And of course, none of us would say that physical violence is a cool way to celebrate life. But that's not the point. The point is passion. The point is absolute belief that what you're doing is the right way. And if you're crossed, you're prepared to put yourself right in front of the person that's crossed you. But modern sport doesn't allow that. And even...
because it's too controlled?
It's too controlled. It's too analysed. We have become very PC in everything. If you say the wrong thing, which is actually why in this sort of Trump era, it's amusing to us to be able to have someone that's so blunt and so direct and not agreeing or disagreeing with any of his policies. I'm sure there's good and bad in every political party and every political person, depending on your point of view. But he's entertaining. Ultimately, he's entertaining because you just don't know what you're going to get next. Some people would say that's a liability, but life is unpredictable. You cannot take the unpredictability out of life.
And surely people watch sport not just for who's the best and who's the fastest, but for the drama and the conflict.
Yeah, of course. The emotional roller coaster.
And do you think there's enough drama and conflict in F1 today? Or is that what you meant by arseholes? You want more drama?
Yeah,
conflict?
I think that if you took Max out, then you would lose a lot of that sort of nervous energy. He is acknowledged by the two guys that are battling for the World Championship. Arguably, he's battling as well, but let's say he's a slightly outsider in third. But you've got Oscar and Lando yet to win the first championship. More than likely, one of them will. Both of them recognise Max as the benchmark. So it's actually a wonderful place to be. It would never happen in boxing. You would never have somebody getting in the ring saying, my competitor is the best and I'm going to try my best to beat him. They're going to say, look, I respect him, but I think he's too old. I think he's done.
But you do now though. Like literally in boxing, the last fight, there was a guy called Fabio. I follow boxing really close, as I know you do. Fabio Wardley, he beat Joseph Parker surprisingly. Like really a shock upset, and it was for who fights for the title against Usyk.
Okay.
So on the interview, they said, Fabio, you've only been a professional. I think you've only been a professional for 8 years. You've only been a professional for 8 years. Now you're fighting Alexander Usyk. How does it feel? And he's like, oh man, can't believe I'm going to get in the ring with him. And
it'll be like a
done
privilege.
Exactly what you've just said.
Yeah.
He wasn't like, look, I'm not here to make up. I'm here to, I'm here to make a name for myself. He was very much. He'd already lost before. I mean, and he is going to lose. But in boxing, you never know.
You never know. One good punch.
He has already lost. He lost the other night, and he hasn't even fought yet.
Yeah. Well, you never know what happens. I guess between now and getting in the ring, he might psychologically just switch himself.
But also, when you
and maybe you can play that humble underdog, because some people like if I was negotiating with you, I'm not going to go ding dong. You know how to play that game. I've got to be a bit smarter, pull the strings a bit.
Yeah, but once again, it's a different environment, isn't it? It's a different environment. But for a viewing point of view, say Lando's winning a race and Piastri comes behind him with 5 laps to go, or Max comes behind him with 5 laps to go. Everyone gets to cheer when it's Max because they think, what's going to happen?
It's the uncertainty.
What's
know
gonna
something
happen?
could happen.
Yeah.
Well,
with the other two, they're going to give each other a bit. They're going to race, but they're going to give each other a bit of space. And obviously, maybe Piastri was a wrong example because they're the same team. But say Leclerc, for example. Lando's winning, Leclerc's behind him, 5 laps to go for the win. They're not taking each other out. It's going to be fair. They're going to race fair. They're going to race well. Max, you just don't know. And that's what you want. And that's what you want to watch for.
Yeah.
Is he going to hit him? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that?
Yeah. No, Max is the driver of his generation, both in terms of talent and just the excitement. He's
the best.
I think he's the best. Yeah. Well, I don't think that's a very brave and bold statement from me. He's.
Do you think if everyone had the same, everyone had the same car, you still think Max would be?
I think Lewis at his prime could have the same pace as him. I think Leclerc, George, who am I missing? Lando, Oscar. I think in a single lap in the same car, having been able to set it up the way they want, I think they'd all be within this of each other.
Yeah.
But I think what Max has is, in my opinion, what Michael had or Senna had. It's just the relentless.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to beat someone that just can't accept being beaten. And they have that. They have that. Will never give up.
Yeah.
And if I reflect on those words, thinking about my own career, I don't remember ever giving up, but I do remember just reaching the limit of my talent. I think they're just more talented. And you would never acknowledge that whilst you're racing, not because you're sort of trying to fool yourself, but the whole point of being in a world-class competition is you believe. You believe. And in the moment you stop is because you've either decided that or realized you're not that good, or somebody else is going, yeah, you're not that good, I'm not employing you.
Right.
Then that reality, and you get those who never accept that they weren't that good and they stay angry and I should have done this and I could have got that. And you get those who go, yeah, you know what, I probably took the maximum out of my possibilities and opportunities.
And is that how you feel about yourself?
100%.
Yeah.
On my day, I could go toe-to-toe with a Schumacher, a Hakkinen, a Hamilton, but what I couldn't do is go toe-to-toe with them across an entire season. I was like this, and not because I'm an emotional person in terms of suggesting as I move my finger up and down. I just didn't have the consistency of, I was going to say God-given talent, but I'm not a religious person. However, nature-given talent, and I think that the brain controls the body, So there's certain sports where you probably, and I'm being a bit disrespectful because I don't know, but I'm going to suggest in certain sports, the physicality is more important than the decision-making capabilities. In our sport, it doesn't actually matter whether you're big, small, muscular, skinny, as long as you're strong enough. Therefore, the dominant factor is the decision-making.
It sounded like you accepted that you did the best you could, and you were great, but you weren't
Exceptional.
Yeah. Okay. How does that make you feel? Do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing? Do you feel like a sense that there could have been more, or you just look back and you go, "This is me"?
I wish, like all of us probably, I knew then what I know now, because I think I could have extracted more.
Right.
I'm a classic village boy. Just came from this. I wasn't street smart, so I'm going to assume you guys grew up in a town rather than a village. City.
Well, no, I was more
Your village boy?
Side of the road, this guy.
Yeah. I was just put into the cities
I bet you were
at a young
fine.
age.
Okay. I bet you had a lot of scraps at school, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a few.
Okay. So I get a sense that you probably, would be able to sort of swap a 50p for a 40p for a 60p, give that back, and then by the time you've
still trying to master it now, David.
He sold his first car age 11. Were you
12?
12.
Yeah.
Sold his first car.
So I was the guy that was buying stuff. I was not the guy selling stuff. So I was like, why have I ended up buying this? I don't need it. So I wasn't street smart, and I think that I think I have become more street smart, obviously through the journey of life. But it took me probably into my late 20s to really kind of figure out who I was. Not in some sort of walking naked in the forest self-discovery moment, but just in terms of
we're hoping to do that after.
That I do that all the time now, of course, but for different reasons. But just in terms of what is this opportunity? How do I move the positions on the chessboard to get the best for me? So I was a little bit slow in learning that, but once I learned it, I figured it out. So I think that given the journey of my life, I've retired from that knowing that I tried everything, physically, mentally. I ticked every box. I was open-minded to everything. I wasn't some sort of emotional basket case. I owned my mistakes. I loved my successes, shared it with my team, all that sort of thing. So I feel fulfilled. I actually feel genuinely, not in some kind of, I'm going to bring out a book on, feel as happy as I did.
Formula One driver.
There you go.
I get that though, because there's a lot of people in sport that could have, but they held themselves back. They could have.
Yeah, but there is no could have. There only is.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
I think that's kind of what David's saying.
I mean, look at for instance, Colin Montgomery, the golfer, right?
I'd look at someone
Mrs.
like Colin
Doubtfire.
and say,
yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah.
I watched that the other night, actually. I didn't know that was his nickname, but a buddy who's involved in golf told me that. And now they've told me that. I can't get it out of my head.
You can't not look at it. So Colin Montgomery, as far as the Europeans come at the time, was, the best we had. He won the order.
Probably the best on the European Tour ever, pretty much.
Yeah.
He won it time after time.
I think he won the 7 times the Order of Merit, which was incredible. Yeah. And the big thing about golf is winning a major. If you're a major winner, if you're even if you're a one-time
says
major,
who though?
Just it's how you get recognised as being a great. I think
it means you don't need to dress up as a woman. To get recognised. I guess that's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. No, but he's one of the many golfers who could have and should have won a major but didn't. But he'll go to bed at night, I'm sure, and be like, it will haunt him. What you're saying
negligee or nighty?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't get it.
Are we going to do this the whole episode?
Yeah,
just but the point I'm trying to make is, in my view, you are a great Formula One driver. And to compare you to Senna and Schumacher is quite frankly not fair, because they are but compared to the world, you're in the top 0.00001.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah,
yes,
and that's how I think. Colin Montgomery is in the top 0.00001. So what if he didn't win a major?
There is no way am I comparing the two, of course. But, it's an achievement to drive in Formula One. I don't know any other sport that has less competitors.
Yeah,
you've got to be the elite to even drive in it. Yeah. Let alone win or be recognised as a great driver. There's been loads of drivers over the years that have come and gone and not really made a noise. but they're still announced as ex-Formula One driver, which is a massive respect on their name.
So I'm actually a little bit embarrassed to be announced as a former Grand Prix driver. It's 16 years ago since I stopped racing. Therefore, I've been retired longer. So I lived longer than I was a Formula One driver. I did 15 seasons. I've now been retired longer than I was a Formula One driver. So it seems like that's a footnote in the life journey. I recognize it's a backbone and it's a calling card. You know, you go to cocktail parties, very quickly people ask you what you do for a living because they want to put you in a category. If you say you are a Grand Prix driver or you've been a Grand Prix driver, it quickly gets you acceptance. It's just, you know, a bit like if you say you're a doctor, or if you say you're a refuge guy, people might think, oh, dirty, not very bright, all the cliches that people never put anyone in a category. So I very, very rarely ever ask anyone what they do for a living because I want to know about them.
Yeah.
You know, what do they enjoy doing? What are you into a sport? Because that's an easy one for me to discover about them, having come from a sporting background. But the minute they say, oh, I've got a PhD in this or whatever, it's like, okay, I'm out of my league on an academic level because I don't have that. So therefore, have I put a barrier between the conversation that could have been?
I'm going to start doing that. Instead of saying, what do you do? What do you enjoy?
Yeah.
Find out people's passions.
Yeah.
I just asked them if they like cars. How you doing? I'm Carl. Do you like cars?
If they say no, you just literally gone.
Look at the time. I've got to go. But before I go, do you know anybody here that does like
Yeah.
Who wants to buy one? I take it. So let's talk about F1 then. So who do you think are the 3 greatest drivers you've ever driven with?
Well, worked with. I was test driver for Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna when I was at Williams. Nigel, in comparison, only one world championship, but actually, in terms of British pig-headed spirit, overcoming so many difficulties, he broke his neck, had to remortgage his house. When he was at Lotus, there was a team principal there called Peter Warr, who famously, when he left Lotus, had said that Nigel will never win a race as long as he's got a hole in his arse. He then went on to win 30-odd Grand Prix and a World Championship. So you've got no one person decides somebody's future. Well, they can if it's an executioner. You know, clearly that's kind of terminal. But in terms of, a lot of people have a lot of opinions and like to, well, everyone should have an opinion. The only bad thing in life is not making a decision. But you know what I mean? Some people have very aggressive decisions. When they're in a position of power, they feel when they make an opinion, it's like, well, that should not be challenged because I'm the guy in power and therefore I've got, you know, a bigger hammer to beat people with. But you judge people at the end of their careers and you judge, did they get an opportunity? Did they not? If they got an opportunity, what did they achieve? I'm coming to answering your question. I think that Nigel was one of the underestimated greats because he got that one title very late in his career. Yeah. Prost took advantage of his size in an era where the driver's weight was not included. So he would negotiate. So 10 kilograms is about 0.3 of a second of performance. So if you're 10 kilograms lighter than me and we drive the same car with no ballast, just you and I, and we've got the same talent, you should be and would be 0.3 of a lap quicker. So we go out to qualify for the Monaco Grand Prix, bam, you're on pole position, I'm 0.3 slower because we've got the same talent and the same car. So what Prost didn't have at that time was the driver was not included in the weight of the car. I think it was around 91, they actually brought the driver as a part of the overall race package. So someone like Gerhard Berger or Nigel Mansell could compete with an Alain Prost. So Prost brilliantly would go to a team in the 80s and go, well, I'm 20 kilos lighter than Mansell. You would spend 5 million to develop 0.6 of performance in the car or remove 0.6 of performance. Pay me 4 extra and you've got the performance right away. You don't need to have it in the car. And they were like, very difficult to, you know, in engineering sense, that is a no-brainer. You would pay for him. So Prost made it, he won 4 titles, brilliant driver. This is a much longer answer than
this is great. This is your
Senna, I think, was just naturally brilliant. He was the benchmark of his era, as was Schumacher, as was Hamilton, as is now Max Verstappen. The guys that go on to win multiple titles across different teams or different eras of regulation, they just have that Federer or that, I don't know, Marvin Hagler or whoever it is at every era that just somehow can take the punches, but be 3 or 4 punches ahead, where I'm going to take a few, this is going to hurt, but I'm going to open them up and I'm going to put them on the canvas or whatever. I'm not a boxer, but I've watched a lot of boxing. Whatever these magicians do there, they see things, don't they? It's a bit like Adrian Newey is the most successful designer. He can see wind. He can see air molecules. Yeah. Because there's a lot of brilliant designers who read the regulations. So if you AI the regulations into supercomputer nowadays, you would get pretty much the same wonderful race car. So what is it about that human element that even with the supercomputers we have today, what they haven't developed is emotion. And that's what separates all of us. And that's what in sport maybe controls the winners and losers, is the ability to either deploy emotion or control emotion. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah. And what's your overriding emotion regarding Ayrton Senna, and maybe your most memorable experience with him?
Well, I remember in Portugal, the end of 93, or maybe it was the beginning of 94, excuse me. We're waiting for a press reception. All the world media were there in the days when the media used to turn up for events rather than just sitting online. And he kind of walked into this big room unannounced, and just slowly but surely the whole room fell silent. You know, that's pretty impressive. It was just because everybody knew somebody amazing. It was not like a king or a queen coming in where you've all got to, everybody in the best behavior. It was just his presence. And he had something spiritual about him. And I'm saying that as a non-spiritual person. He had an absolute belief. He had a presence. When he spoke to you, you were like, fuck me, he's looking me in the eyes. Oh my God. He really was inside you in a way. Wow. So I think he was a combination of amazing talent and on that spectrum of belief that some people operate in. I don't think you necessarily need that to be great. But
if it helps you.
But if it helped, but it created the mystique that was Ayrton Senna.
And can you remember exactly where you were and how you felt when the news about his death?
Yeah, I was at Silverstone. I was racing in what was called Formula 3000, F2 nowadays, so keep it simple. I was the test driver. I'd received a fax, the old paper fax that morning from the team who were racing at Imola. And it was signed by Ayrton, it was signed by Frank, Patrick Head, Adrian Newey, just wishing me luck, because as the test driver, I was serving them. I was testing, I was the crash test dummy. I did all the thousands of kilometers of driving the car. So it was nice to get that little message in the morning. I went off to Silverstone. It was a bank holiday Monday race, so I was qualifying on the Sunday, stood to watch the start of the Grand Prix. There was one television in the Avon tyre truck, who were the tyre supplier. And the group of us standing there watching saw the crash and were like, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Oh, wow.
And then it's like, no, this doesn't look good. And then obviously over the course of the next couple of hours, the news came that he'd passed, and that what was a horrible weekend because they lost Roland Ratzenberger on the Saturday, the Austrian. Barrichello had a big shunt on the Friday, broke his nose and his arm. So it was a horrible, horrible weekend. I think a wheel went into the crowd, and a spectator was injured as well. It was just one of those, like, what the heck is going on this weekend? And he had no injuries, nothing apart from the brain injury, which, is obviously a terminal thing. But point being, it's not like he had lots of fractures. It was just a completely random.
So complete freak of nature.
Freak of nature. And there's.
How did he get through the helmet then?
Because in those days we didn't have tethers attached to the suspension. There's a Kevlar tether that if the wheel gets knocked off, 90% of the time it stops the wheel bouncing somewhere else, protect the driver, protect the spectators. Occasionally it does break because every accident has its limit. But of course, in the process of braking, it takes some of the energy out of it. But the wheel just came straight back, suspension pierced the helmet, and just that was it, lights out.
Did Ayrton Senna's death change you in any way?
Yeah, it did, absolutely, because it was a reality. The guy that I'm in a garage testing, and he's in the next car, and I'm looking over in the same way I'd done that with Mansell and Prost, and then all of a sudden that guy is dead. And when you're young, I guess it depends on everyone's individual life, but I hadn't dealt with a lot of death when I was younger. A uncle that I was close when I was 16, and I just remember being really, really, really upset by that. It was the first time I'd actually faced the reality of death, and I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going. Funerals are not a party. I'm not going to my own funeral. Never mind anyone else's after that.
Yeah.
And I've always tried very hard to avoid that horrible raw emotion of loss. And I'm sure a psychologist would say that's a bad thing, but I've kind of found peace with it. So each to their own. Mm-hmm. Senna, that was a sort of real life changing moment, because it led to me becoming a Grand Prix driver. Suddenly I'm in Barcelona being announced as a Grand Prix driver when I had no idea I was going to be a Grand Prix driver. You know, this is like 3 weeks after he's killed. I was completely unprepared for being put into the public spotlight. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, at that time, it wasn't as it is now. Nowadays, you know, the world knows who you are. Back then, it was only really people who followed Formula One who knew who you were. There was no social media. It was old-fashioned press releases. So there was millions of people followed Formula One, but it was kind of a niche sport in that respect. Mm-hmm. Now, Formula One, you go anywhere, somebody knows Lewis or Charles, and a lot of youngsters, you know, young girls are getting into Formula One in a way they didn't in the past, and it's just really grown.
Did it affect the way you drove? Were you a little bit more cautious, or
no? I've always had a very clear vision of what I was doing. Sorry to sort of hesitate to get the old engine started there.
It must be an old engine. You did that.
Yeah.
You turned the key.
Exactly. I am 54. I'm 54. So I've got a 16-year-old who's about to be 17. He's racing in GP4. And I ask him, what do you look at when you drive? And he kind of explains, and I can't visualize what he's doing. I've always felt ownership when I'm in a kart or a car or being a young Formula One driver, because that was my environment. Yes, it was a Grand Prix car. Yes, I was suddenly now driving a car that Senna had been driving. But once you get in the car and you get the helmet on, you're in your office. And you guys are in your decision-making, business-making mode. You're not distracted. You're not sort of, you know, having one conversation and listening to another. You're just doing what you do. You're in your zone. So when I'm in my zone, it didn't matter if I was 12 years old or I was 24. I knew what I was looking at. And for me, driving a race car is about joining the dots. There's a point where you're going to make a decision to brake. There's a point, therefore, after that, once you've felt the car, where you're going to look to position the car, and then you react to what that feels. You know what I'm saying as I say this. And if you just join the dots, that's how you drive a lap. You know, Formula One drivers are the goldfish of the sporting world. We go around and we go, oh, that was fun. And we do it again. And we do it again. And it doesn't change. You know, it evolves. The track conditions change. The tires change. But these are small changes. And we've got 5 decisions to make. Right, left, straight, throttle, brake. And a combination of those 5 decisions is what being a Grand Prix driver is.
But I bet there's an infinite combination in terms of the number.
You'll probably come with what the number is at any given time. But if you're on this, like in Monza, in Italy, straight, I don't know, 1.5 kilometers or whatever the number is, there's only one decision that really is just full throttle and straight line. And you don't drive a car in a straight line. The car drives itself in a straight line.
Yeah, you just don't turn it.
Exactly. So the only decision is, you know, so if we cut back all the sexiness and the intrigue, it's quite a basic set of decisions you have to make.
Yeah. And I can't help but think it's strange and eerie what happened with Senna and Schumacher.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other sport where 2 of the absolute best.
Yeah.
But what about your memories with Michael?
Well, Michael, I spent a lot more time with than Ayrton. Ayrton was very much me as the test driver and talking about the car and appreciating him being supportive of me as a driver. Michael was of a similar age. We were competitors. We socialized. We had the occasional holiday together. You know, not what maybe people would imagine.
I wouldn't have imagined that either.
Yeah, given that we occasionally...
Just the rivalry with McLaren and Ferrari.
Yeah,
like going back to what we said earlier. I just assumed you didn't get on.
It was probably just at that transition to where we are now, where the drivers seem to all get along well and hang out and go play paddle together. We sort of towed the water of that maybe 2 or 3 times a year, where I think the drivers today are with each other a lot more. So I think they are, for whatever reason, and maybe you guys have got some life experience and you can share with me on this generation are more accepting of the divisions of competition and socializing, where the sort of Senna, Prost, Mansell generation, Piquet, there was no socializing. There was competition, and there was that arsehole that I'm in competition with that you might end up traveling through the same airport with. And this generation seemed to be, hey guys, get in the WhatsApp group. Anyone flying to Monza? On Thursday? Yeah. And then they go in competition. So have you got insight as to what this younger generation, there hasn't be Formula One drivers, but what is it with the young guys that...
Look, I was brought up with the mentality of how you were. You know, competition's great, and I respect my competitors in whatever I do. But, you know, at the end of the day, in business, you're trying to take food off the table for me. Yeah. And I'm happy to go head to head fairly, but you know, we're not going to be best mates.
When you mentioned about stuff on the table, Eddie Jordan, who sadly passed earlier this year, would very often, and I never did business with Eddie, but we had a podcast together and I spent social time with him, and I had a love-hate relationship with Eddie because he was a wonderful, wonderful character, but he's the most annoying fucker at times as well. But I had a lot of respect for him. And so, you know, I'm sure you have friends or colleagues or whatever like that, but he would often say about make sure you leave something on the table for the next guy. In terms of business, leave an envelope, leave a whatever. And he would say it, and never ever saw him do it. So I wondered,
maybe
it was
he says
almost,
it to people so they'll do it for him.
Yeah. So I wondered if his generation was, if you say it, then that's at least a token gesture towards actually doing it, rather than physically doing it.
My perception of that would be if a car came out and it was making, you know, an over list price car. Yeah. It was making a premium. Yeah. And I've used that terminology before. You know, leave something on the table for the next person. I'm paying you over list for the car. You're earning money. I'm going to try and sell it. I'm going to try and earn money. But I'm happy to leave some on the table for the next guy. I don't necessarily want him to lose money. Yeah. You know, if I sell it to him, good luck with it. You know, I'll try and sell it to you as a price so you can go on again, maybe. Yeah. So you're leaving some on the table for the next guy.
Yeah, and also if you look after someone like watch dealers, most people who buy one nice watch might buy 5 or 10 or 30 or 50 in their life. Most of us have got many watches. So if you look after someone and treat them well on the first watch, you might have 50 watches that you're selling to them over a 30-year career. Yeah. So, you know, I guess many of your customers don't just have one car. No. And I bet you have more. I was talking to someone who knows Richard Mille, FP Journe very well. Yeah. And apparently FP Journe's selling most of his watches to the same 20 guys. Yeah. So if you look after someone at the start and you're nice to them, I know that pisses you off because you probably want one. But is that not a thing?
Horatio Pagani sells his cars to the same customers. Like they've all got 5.
Who was the the Brunei family bought? What was the British jewelers that they bought only to discover that they were their main customer?
They said the turnover, thought they're doing well.
And it didn't work out. And I can remember that Lawrence Stroll had been involved in that deal, and Mansell Rogier, who was one of the owners of McLaren. But I forget the name of the. It's in them. You know when you've got a name sort of whizzing around.
I'll come back to.
You'll remember
it was a British jewelers. Okay. Garrard or Gerard or Garrard or something. I think
Garrard was it. That name's ringing a bell.
Yeah, and it didn't work out because as a combination, they were the main. They loved the brand and thought this is great. We can buy this. There was something else you did there on when you were talking about cars and car sales and watches that triggered a thought where. It's always interesting, isn't it, that you know when you're dealing with, you know, if I was buying a car through yourself, I know that you're making a pound, but there's a point at which in your own mind you go, I'm happy with that price. That's how any deal has to be.
It works both ways.
Yeah,
you know, it works. I often
But you must get people who want to know, well, what are you selling it for? Like those nosy fuckers. I absolutely don't mind.
What's the point?
Because I guess some people just, they have a jealousy or a nosiness or a...
How can someone run a business if they're not making any margin?
Yeah.
It's a lot to do with the British mentality. I don't really get it with customers from overseas, but sometimes I get a phone call after I've bought a car from somebody. Now, bearing in mind, I haven't broken into their house, held them up by gunpoint, and forced them to sell me their car. They called me, right? So let's get this. They called me. They've approached me. I've bought a car, whatever it may be. Let's just work on a percentage here for a second. Say I have a markup of somewhere between 5 and 10% for an outlay that I've paid for a car. This is not a consignment car. This is a car that I
so
bought.
You've taken the risk because that could go down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will get a phone call sometimes the next day when they see it on the website, and I'll get abused. I can't. You've had me over. What? How? You've had me. I can't believe you've marketed it for that and blah. I said, well, I'm not being funny. And then I'll say to them, what do you do for a living? I buy and sell T-shirts. What's your markup percentage in your T-shirts? Because it's 100% or more. I'm asking for 5% here. Would you do it for 5%? That's not the point. I can't. One day, all you've done is come down. All I've done is come down. We haven't been in business for 53 years. But one day, we've come down. I get it quite a lot.
Yeah.
I guess it's that, as you say, that sort of, maybe it's not just a British thing. Maybe it happens in other countries as well. But I remember many years ago being at Goodwood, so 90s, say like that. And I was sitting beside a presenter called Muriel Gray, short, blonde, spiky hair. And I think she was dating Robbie Coltrane at the time. If any of this memory is not correct, I apologise to the people involved. But we were doing the small talk, and she asked, "Where do you live?" And I said, "I live in Monaco." And she went, "Oh, so you're one of those tax dodging fuckers." That was her words in a sort of broad Scottish accent, slightly intimidating, spiky hair. And I went, "Well, that's interesting you would say that, because I still pay tax in the UK on my UK income." And she went, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, I have UK income. It's declared as UK income. Otherwise, I'd be a tax dodging fucker. But if I'd moved to Australia, would you have the same view as me in Monaco?" "Well, if you'd moved to Australia, you'd have emigrated." I went, "Well, I've emigrated to Monaco. It's just a wee bit closer than Australia."
I'll draw you a picture of a map if you like.
So anyway, long story short, I said, "Well, how much do you pay in tax?" And she went, "Well, that's private." I said, "Well, you've made it a bit personal."
Yeah.
So I, at that time, was, I don't know, 6 figures, whatever the tax I was paying, still contributing way more than the average person, and I didn't live in the country. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't realize." I said, "Well, you could have maybe come at it in a slightly less aggressive way." I said, "I've just chosen to live in an environment that suits the needs of my lifestyle and all the rest of it. And yes, there is less personal income tax in Monaco than there is in the UK. But I don't live in the UK." So,
David, I think you've done well to just even explain yourself. I'd have just said, "Yeah."
But it was the
I'd have said fuck off.
It was the aggression of which the statement, which
and the judgment.
The judgment that went, because I come in peace, and I really do, and I want people to do I want everyone to be happy and healthy and all that sort of stuff. Even the people that have crossed me, that there's moments where I'm like, yeah, I do not wish you the best.
Who's crossed you the most?
Well, the gentleman that was my partner in this hotel, a guy called Ken McCulloch, who is no longer here to defend himself, died of cancer. But he was not correct in our business arrangement here, and he was given the opportunity to defend that in a Monaco court, or he could transfer his shares over to me and leave the principality. And what did he do? Oh, he transferred his shares over to me and left the principality. So that would suggest that there was something there that needed to be, couldn't be defended.
So when you say not correct, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Just fraudulent.
Oh, right.
Just
siphoning money off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can tell I'm over it.
You think he might your outlook on what you've just said about your outlook on people, you come in peace. You think he might have took your kindness for weakness?
I don't actually think it had anything to do with kindness, weakness at that time. But although that's a good question, I was a racing driver at the time.
So maybe you just weren't able to keep your eye on.
Exactly. There was people that were engaged to take care of that responsibility for me, and they didn't because they were taken in by the facade and all that sort of thing. So in the end, this hotel that we stayed in, the real estate play was good.
Yeah.
The trading business experience for me in partnership with him was not good. And I accept that as part of my decisions in life. But so
that's also how you learn, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they could teach you the theory of that till the cows come home. Yeah. Just like they could teach you how to drive a car.
Yeah, no, I actually see that as a valuable life lesson. And it's easy to not be as traumatized by a loss of money if you're still able to function and all the rest of it.
Or it wasn't your own money.
Or it wasn't your own money, But, I've always had, and I think it comes from the family background where we've got a transport company. Transport's not like a sexy industry, but it's a backbone of, how things get moved around. And the business has been in the family since 1916. My brother runs that now and does.
Tell me, the wagons, are they white and red?
They have a bit of white, they have a bit of red, and they have a bit of tartan around them.
Yeah.
We're not very nationalistic, but there's a big bit of tartan around them.
So that was a nice way of saying it's not got much white and red, I think.
I'm sure I've seen them.
You have. Ayrton Coulthard. They've got yellow writing on them. And the reason my son's called Dayton is because my father's DC, my brother's DC, I'm DC, and I wanted a DC. My ex-wife had put forward the name Dorian, and I didn't know the whole. Was it who was it that wrote Dorian Gray? Anyway, Oscar Wilde, I think it was, that wrote Dorian Gray, and it is apparently about a kid that never grows up. So I was like, I don't like the sound of that. So he was alive for a couple of weeks before the bright idea to take off the H from Ayrton Coulthard, which was the name of the founding member of the family, and put a D, so he's Dayton.
Which so he literally made up his name.
Made up a name, yeah. Although there is Dayton, Ohio, and all the rest of it. But Dayton, you know how when the French go Dayton, so it works for the French.
They love
his mum's Belgian, and it works for us because Scottish and British, we can go Dayton.
Yeah.
People see the supercars, but they don't see the money and investing decisions behind owning them, because traditional education is broken and school taught you how to be a slave, not a money master. And that's why over 2 decades I built a brand new money school. Money.School Gold is my global financial education platform to help you make, manage and multiply more money. The gold level is for people who want to hit 7, then 8, then 9 figures in income and invest for the greatest return and build generational wealth. There are literally dozens of hours of more advanced courses, resources and masterclasses to help you scale your business, invest in property stocks, gold, silver, assets and watches, and of course, cars. So join this exclusive community and global school of other entrepreneurs at money.school/gold. And you can cancel anytime, no ongoing contract, and at just over £1 a day, it's 99.9% less than traditional education. And your kids get free membership. Money.school/gold.
So how is Michael at the moment, Michael Schumacher? Because they seem to have kept that under wraps, which I completely understand. I would love to know if he's okay.
Well, I think what we can assume is that it's suboptimal.
So you don't actually know?
I don't know. No, I obviously saw Mick when he was in Formula One. I've seen Corinna, his wife, at some events. I've never asked the question because I work on the basis that if they wanted to discuss something, they would. And I didn't want to put them in a position to have to go, look, we don't want to talk about it. No. But they talk about Michael in the present, because he is present. He's just not publicly present, and therefore we have to assume based on that there's limitations to how he's able to function and live his life. But coming back to what you said earlier, it is, it's bizarre, it's crazy, it's whatever word sums up.
That was a freak accident, wasn't it?
Freak skiing accident, and a bit like, as you say, with Ayrton, two of when those guys came head to head, really, in 93, 94, 2 of the greatest drivers in the history of the sport, to be one is no longer with us, and one obviously has a medical injury is crazy, and it does put into context in the sporting terms how short life can be, because any sports career, even the very best sports person, they might get to 40. I don't know how old Ronaldo is, but most sports, you're pretty late 30s, you're probably pretty much done. Maybe golf, you can go a bit longer, but the really athletic sports, there's no one really going, not much above 40, is there?
No.
So let's say you become a professional at 20, just keep it simple. I guess in football, there are maybe 16, 17-year-old professionals. But if you have a 20-odd year career as a professional sportsman, that is sports person, that is a very, very long career. Whereas in a business career, if you sold your first car at 13, an old folks home at 99, you might be selling an electric scooter, mobility scooter to somebody.
Buffett's still going, isn't he?
Yeah. So, so in terms of our potential business careers, we dictate that based on our functionality.
But that's the body's choice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure we're saying that you're probably not. I mean, I tell you who's a freak of nature is Alonso.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolute freak. He's like, what, 42?
44.
44?
Yeah.
He hasn't aged in 10 years.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, actually, because you could do all sorts of analysis and come up with your own sort of outcomes. But if I look, he's never stopped racing. So even when he stopped in Formula One for a couple of years, he went to do Dakar, he did Indianapolis. He's never been... I was going to pick my words carefully there. I was going to say he's never been sort of bogged down by family and kids, which... family and kids are amazing. Anyone who's got family and kids knows how wonderful that is. He hasn't had distractions. He hasn't had that distraction. So he's had a purity of extended childhood, because being a professional sports person is an extended childhood. If you're kicking a football at 35 and you were kicking a football at 15, it's an extended childhood.
And you're kicking it at 5 as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got the trappings of success, and you've got all the tats and the gold watches and the whatever it is you've got, but you're still doing the same thing. Yeah. And I'm not belittling a football. I'm just stating the obvious. We do exactly the same thing. We just do it better because we're either more knowledgeable or we're physically better. But it's arguable where the peak of anyone's sporting performance is. It's probably at that crossover point where the talent is delivering the performance. The lack of knowledge is not questioning decisions. The amount of knowledge is helping make good decisions. There's going to be a crossover, isn't there? Because I think as you get later in life, you get more knowledge, but you go, what if? Even if it's a tiny what if.
You do, because you've seen so much
Yeah,
more.
exactly. So there has to be a sort of utopian point where you've just got that amount of knowledge, and most sports people will go beyond that. Very few will stop right on that point because it probably is quite early in their career.
Yeah, it's like the
it's like the Venn diagrams with the 4 circles and then is it Ikigai in the middle? Yeah,
I'll agree with you because I didn't know.
No, I obviously didn't know either.
Where was was it Melbourne where Alonso went on the outside of Schumacher? And they said, it's a ridiculous place to overtake on the outside.
It was Suzuka, I think, in Japan.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
He went round the outside of him.
And what did he say?
I don't know what he said, but I just remember the fact.
He said, they said, how did you know Michael was going to ease off the throttle? Like, he didn't brake, he just eased off. He said, because he's got a wife and kids at home.
Yes. Well, it's a consideration. Not immediately when my son was born, because I didn't, it was just a little hairy walnut when he popped out. Yeah. But at some point thereafter, a few weeks later, I remember that sort of feeling of the heart getting bigger. That ache you get in your heart when you love something, your first love or whatever it is. And then my heart felt like it got bigger. And I was like, oh, that's what it is to be a parent. Once that happens, your living desire, irrespective of how selfish you are, is to make sure that you always take care of your kids, no matter how old they are. I'm sure in my 50s, my parents are in their 80s, look at me still as little David.
Of course,
because they've got that love in their heart. It's an amazing thing.
So that makes you lift going around the corner in Suzuka.
You would think subconsciously.
Yeah, of course.
Not consciously, because I wasn't a dad until after I retired, but I'm not thinking about my son when I drive a race car occasionally or something like that. I've still got that male selfish streak that allows you to be present. Yeah. But of course, you subconsciously want the best for them, and I think we're probably softer on our kids than our parents were on us, just because of a generational thing.
David, how hard is it for a youngster these days, say someone who has got a great talent, who is, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, to break through karting, but not come from an extremely wealthy background in order to do so?
I think it's definitely more difficult than it was, because everything has just become more professional. What does that mean? It means it costs more. So you could be an arrive and drive family, buy a car, buy an engine, a whole set of tires, and talent could show. Now it's so finely tuned in the performance levels of the cars. You have to be with a top team. You got to make sure you've got one of the top engines. It's definitely much more difficult. And then once you've done that, karting, so some guys who've got amazing trophy cabinets in karting who do nothing in cars, because karting is, in simple terms, being a ping pong table tennis world champion doesn't mean you're going to beat Federer in Wimbledon. It's the same, paddle, tennis, whatever. They're all in the same racket sport category. But karting is little solid. They don't move, no suspension, no vehicle dynamics. You go into a car, how does the car move? What do the aerodynamics do? So yes, there is a definite thread of the best. The guys who are winning in Formula One have won in karting. But what the thread doesn't complete on is that some of the guys who've been brilliant in karting ever get anywhere near Formula One. Because something changes when you go through being a teenager, just in how you perceive life and opportunities. And also the vehicle dynamics, your ability to understand what it is. I don't think I'm a particularly good road car driver. And if you ever drove with me, you'd go, you're not a very good road car driver.
You mean actually driving from A to B on the road?
A to B, yeah. Because I've got no interest in driving a road car.
Well,
so therefore,
it would do nothing for you at all.
So I make no effort. So I wouldn't consider myself a particularly good road car driver. But I've got friends who drive really well. And I'm like, God, they're really smooth and they're consistent. And they might have, I've got a buddy who's got a nice Ferrari. I drove it and I went, I'm not really sure. I can't quite judge wherever. I don't feel comfortable. Where I would go in a Grand Prix car, feels like an extension of my body.
Yeah.
So my buddy, who has never really had anything, he never raced and everything, drives it really well. So I'm like, how does he drive that car so well?
He's under a lot of pressure with you in the passenger seat.
but he seems totally at one with it.
Yeah.
So maybe his expectations are so kind of low that makes him high.
Yeah.
Where my expectation is high. Yeah. And somehow that makes me underperform. I don't know. I find it fascinating, especially here in Monaco, the amount of beautiful cars that are driven around. And I'd be like, fuck, if I had to drive it up outside the Hotel de Paris, I'd be a bit worried that I'd either take down one of the valet parkers or hit a curb or something. It's interesting, isn't it, how some people make good.
I never thought I'd hear you saying that. Walking here today, I didn't think I'd hear David Coulthard say I can't really drive road cars. Bit shit actually.
How cool would it be though to watch David Coulthard pull up outside of the Hotel de Paris and scoff a wheel, and then get out and be like, I'm a shit driver. I am. That would be so cool. You'd be like,
but how did the valet, all these young valet parkers, they're jumping in cars that might be the first time they've ever jumped. How do we ever trust them to take the keys of our car?
I know.
We don't know if.
And what is good is when you see them go down you think you're going to give them the key and they're going to park it literally there, and they just go off. Yeah, they're gone.
Drive around Monaco.
Yeah. He's off.
Yeah.
Pick up a bird on the way back.
I don't remember the carpets being sticky. Probably a step too far from
David, should I save you from yourself and move on? Right, David, you can only pick one. V8, V10 or V12, and why?
V10.
Ooh.
Because I did the majority of my career with a V10. Not that I'm an engineer, but I believe that is the better compromise between the screaming beautiful V12 and the slightly smaller, torqueier, less fuel dependent V8. And my era, I started with, I drove, first Formula One car was a V12, but the Williams Renault was a V10, and I really enjoyed the torque of that engine and all of the development. The V12s, you had to rev them all the time. You were revving to get the performance. And it's actually just a bit grating to constantly be going, na, 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 na,
Right,
na.
yeah.
The V10, it's just sweeter. You know, when you've got someone that you know who's got a particular accent or whatever, that it just grates after a while.
Yeah.
That's like a V8 in comparison to a V10. But I'd take a V8 over a V6, although a V6 turbo with all the bits and pieces could be very efficient.
Yeah, you know, what I
Shall
feel
we start
like with
asking you about
V6s?
electric cars, Carl? What do you think about
V6s.
electric cars, Carl?
I'm not into anything like
Carl
that.
said he wouldn't be friends with anyone
Yeah.
who liked electric cars.
Yeah.
We got nothing in common.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
know,
We've got cars in
you
common.
like Jeremy Corbyn and electric cars. Simple. You know,
You don't mean me.
don't mean you, but what I mean is like if you're driving an electric car, that's I've already put you in that bracket of okay, I can't speak.
But
to
we
you,
talked about non-judgment earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's an exception to the rule if you're driving an electric car.
What do you think of electric cars, David?
I don't have an electric car.
No. So the
Thank God,
end.
because that would have been awkward if you'd have said, "Well, I got quite a few electric
That
cars."
would have been fun. Yeah.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. When I was a kid, there was an electric milk float would bring the milk round. So it's not a new phenomenon. I think they had the first electric vehicles in the 1800s.
Yeah. No one wanted to drive a milk float though, did they?
No one wanted to drink a milk.
I think the first
drive a milk float.
first car ever was an electric car.
Yeah. So this isn't a new phenomenon. I think there's been a lot of misinformation around electric vehicles. I think that there has been a lot of areas where an electric car clearly is, if you do 10 miles in London and you need a vehicle and you're not prepared to go in a bus, which I don't particularly want to be in a bus or a underground, so I'm more likely to be in my own vehicle or any driver or something like that, then do I really mind what vehicle I'm sitting in? Not particularly if it's a short journey, but I simply, it doesn't fit my lifestyle to have a fully electric vehicle. No matter how quickly they can charge them, I still see people standing around waiting to charge in a way that I don't see people doing when you go to a fuel station, and therefore I don't have an electric vehicle. They're heavier, therefore that has a mass of any impact as well. So, we haven't actually done that much research or heard much about the crash testing of electric vehicles, because you can get a pretty light internal combustion engine road car. I don't know what the lightest electric vehicle is that's got any kind of range. It must be quite heavy.
I mean, the battery itself has got to, it's like
a
another
few
engine.
hundred, yes, a few hundred kilos. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that I think a lot of the general public don't really think about weight, probably.
No.
But the weight of an electric vehicle is the same, irrespective of whether the battery's full or the battery's empty. A car that puts, 60, 70 kilos of fuel, it gets lighter, it gets more efficient, it needs less fuel to propel it because it's lighter.
Yeah.
These are just, so there's a lot of things that we don't really think about.
Didn't you have a near death?
I had a plane crash, yeah, but I wasn't flying. It was pilot error, single engine failure. And
What happened?
We took off from Farnborough, flying back to Nice. Engine failed, left engine, some of the bearings in the jet, and Lyon was the designated emergency landing airfield. Beautiful conditions. I don't know, 11, 12 o'clock in the day.
Yeah.
And pilot came in too low, too slow, stalled the aircraft, rotated, hit the wingtip, came onto fuselage, removed the fuselage, killed the pilots, and we climbed. My ex-girlfriend at the time, my trainer, and her little dog. We climbed out through the front, and that was it.
Wow.
Shit.
So yeah.
So there were 5 of you in the.
Yeah. And
both pilots died.
Yeah.
And you just walked out, no injuries.
Broken ribs, good, the seatbelt.
Oh, okay.
Because when the aircraft came like this, then obviously it came forward. So
Wow.
So I was facing forward, as was my girlfriend at the time. So we had ribs because those little seatbelts tend to ride up. The trainer was sitting where you are, so he was fine. He just did that, and so
did that change how you?
Yeah, fuck right. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Fuck. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that particular relationship came to an end.
You mean with flying or with the girlfriend?
No, with the ex.
Aren't
Was it your fault?
Oh no. In terms of, I made some decisions going forward.
Oh.
Some lifestyle changes.
Like what?
Well, and I stopped that relationship because I didn't feel like that was. I just.
How was that to do with the plane crash, or have you moved on?
Just looking for an excuse. You were just looking for an excuse
Afterwards,
at that point,
you're like,
wasn't it?
yeah, this is a sign. Our relationship is.
Yeah. Well, because when I got back to Monaco that night, and I was driven back from Lyon after the crash, so several hours in a car, because as I now know, but I didn't know, when you're involved in an aircraft crash, you don't just get your stuff together and go through passport control and leave. You're taken off to a medical facility. Our passports, everything was still inside the aircraft. So that caused some issues as to how we would be allowed into France, because we couldn't identify ourselves, and just the silliness that you would think they'd be able to look at the aircraft log and understand there's two people that are no longer alive that were designated as the pilots. So we're going to assume they are the pilots, and some DNA test at some point will prove they are. You've got 3 passengers that were logged that don't have their passports, but we're going to have, you would think there would be an assumption. So anyway, that all took a bit of time. So by the time we left and then I got back to Monaco probably midnight or something that day, and I'm lying in bed and I'm reflecting on the fact that I could have been dead. That could have been it. 2 guys that were sitting just beyond you are dead. Why did we get lucky? So in that reflective mode, it's the Tuesday before the Spanish Grand Prix, and I'm like, do I want to race? Again, never mind, do I want to race in the Grand Prix this weekend? And I'm like, yep, I want to race. I'm lying beside someone that, like many relationships we have in life, some endure and some don't. And I'm like, I don't see this as a relationship that I want to continue to invest in. So that's over. And just the way I was living my life, I changed some things because I was 30 years old. I was earning well. I was in an international sport. You become a bit kind of spoiled, a bit needy, a bit, I want this, I want that. All the things that come when you go from wanting to be there to being there. And it just gave me a little bit of a shake and gave me a bit of a reset of who are you? How do you want to treat people? How do you want to be treated? What's your goals in life? Because you could have been dead. We never really think about death until you get old. And then you get a bit more reflective on it. But when something like that happens young in your life, it's like a real moment in time where once the lights go out, they're out.
And how long until, obviously, because of the fact that you're a Formula One driver and you were going all over the world every weekend or every other weekend, getting back in the plane for the first time, that must have been tough.
Yeah, it was. I'm not an overly emotional person, but of course I'm.
I noticed, by the way, you said when that relationship was over.
Yeah.
I just picked up on that. Yeah. Normally it takes me like 2 years to exit a relationship.
No, once I've made a decision.
Done.
Yeah, it's done.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So so that was on the Tuesday. On the Thursday, I flew on Mansour Roger's aircraft, and Mansour owned part of McLaren. He owned TAG Aviation. His aircraft at the time, I think, or one of them was a Challenger, and he organised his aircraft to take me from Nice to Barcelona. It's only an hour flight, and he was saying, my stewardess, she's been in a plane crash before. You're going to be fine, as a kind of throwaway feel good. And of course, it was fine. You go because you can't. Well, anyone can do what makes them feel good, but I certainly don't prescribe to. Running around. That takes effort to do that. Yeah. Rationally sit down and have the conversation with yourself. Who am I? What am I? What do I want to do? Here's the opportunities. Do I want to do it? What rationally can go wrong by getting another aircraft? It can crash and I can be killed. Do I think that's likely? Statistically, no. Therefore, am I prepared to do that? Or do I want to drive 5 hours to Barcelona? I was like, I'll get on the plane.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And what was the biggest thing you learned about yourself? You said you asked all these questions about you and your life and who are you and how do you want to be. What was the biggest lesson you got from that?
About patience, I think, and acceptance, and also just to dial down well, I want it. Get me that. What do you mean I can't have it? How much is it going to be? That impatience. Right. I mean, this will sound really weird to your listeners if this makes the cut. But what changed was, I think in life sometimes we get a little bit needy because we can. Right. So little kids can be a bit needy because they're developing their their emotions, and I want that. And then you get adults who've got a bit of success go, well, just get me that, because they know they can afford to pay for it. And that is, who was it that came up with the expression that success is a lousy teacher? It makes people think they can't fail. However, and whoever is being really, really successful right now, if you consider death failure, or let's say it brings whatever success they have to its natural conclusion, we will all fail. Life has its journey. Sadly, some people are taken way, way too young. And if we accept, let's say, the averages of life, we have our journey, we have our moment in the sun, and we have our moment, we start in nappies, and if we're lucky, we end in nappies. So how do you maintain your manners? How do you maintain how you interact with people? How do you get what you would like without being needy? Money will facilitate a lot of things, and it will get you people bowing down and all the rest. Does it actually get respect? I think you said earlier about business, you respect people. Just because they're rich doesn't mean you give them respect.
No, you can't buy respect.
Yeah, you might go, well, look, they've earned, so I'm going to respect that they've earned, but it doesn't mean you respect them, because they might be arseholes. Yeah. But if they've actually been successful, and you know what, they give a bit of recognition to, how they treat someone on a door, or all those little things.
Manners cost nothing.
There you go. I've rambled on.
That was what my parents always would say, that manners cost nothing.
Yeah. And you can't buy respect.
No. People always remember when you're nice to them. Yeah. And if you're someone in some authority and you're nice to someone who apparently in that interaction isn't in authority, they really remember that well.
Yeah. So that would have been the good summary for what I struggle to get out.
No, it's perfect.
So maybe I was just in that slightly entitled, successful people were doing things for me period.
Right.
I remember when I became a Formula One driver, I went from the team telling me what to do. David, be there at 9, get in the car, do this, do that, but not in a just a
logistical way.
To then I'm a Grand Prix driver, and the same people went, would you mind doing an interview? And I'm going, would I mind? I have a choice. And I'll go, I don't want to do it. And they go, that's fine. Fucking hell, I can say no. And then once you gain comfort with that, you get that entitlement of, no, I'm not doing it. And then it gets to the point where press officers will, and I see it as an ex-driver working in the media now, I know they haven't asked the driver because they think the driver will say no, therefore they
expect him to say no.
Yeah, so they'll go, no, he doesn't want to do it. And I don't challenge them because, look, that's not, my life is not about fighting those battles. But there's a bit of me goes, yeah, I'm pretty sure you didn't ask them. I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't mind if they knew that somehow I was involved because I come in peace. And I'm not trying to expose them. I'm trying to celebrate them. God, to put us in the cockpit, how amazing it must be to drive Monaco. I fucking know how amazing it is to drive Monaco. I don't know how amazing it is to drive now in Monaco. And it may be even more amazing. And therefore, their answer to the question is absolutely valid, but I actually don't need to ask the question for my own life experience. But
You're
I'm
asking
asking
it for the millions of people that are watching,
that are fans.
Yeah.
The little kid in me who was a fan, who hung on the words of Murray Walker and James Hunt, not to put myself in any way that people would hang on my words, but there's going to be a young boy or girl that's watching Channel 4, other channels are available, of course, and they'll go, God, that's amazing. Lando just explained, because that old guy asked them, what's it like to be in a drive Monaco? Dad, did you know it's like this? Because they believe what the drivers tell.
Yeah.
So I ramble, but
that's all right.
Yeah.
What would be your top 3 road car garage? You can only have 3 cars. They have to fit every criteria for your life. What's your top 3 road car garage?
I'd have a smart convertible. I would have a GLS fully loaded, and a high performance sex on wheels. I've had the Valkyrie, beautiful piece of engineering, but very unreliable. So I sold that. was happy with the price I got offered by the guy who bought it. Didn't ask what he sold it on. Coming back to coming back to what we said earlier.
Well, the way they're doing in the market, he'd have sold it for a lot less.
They're dropping now a lot.
That was. It might have been. Time passes so quickly. It might have been a couple of years ago now.
Yeah, they fell to the floor.
Have they really?
Wow.
No, maybe it's
because they're unreliability. They're really temperamental, I've been told.
Yeah, I had a lot of reliability issues, but beautiful piece of engineering. I really loved all the But I remember I drove my fiance from the other side of Monaco down here to Fontvieille, did a little loop round in front of the Columbus, and I stopped at a junction, little mini roundabout there, and I'm waiting for the bus to go by or whatever, and all I hear is slam. Fucking headset down in the passenger side. She got out. I'm walking home. It's too noisy. Headsets.
I think a car. I mean, obviously, we'll get to you. What's your third car?
I've got an AMG one.
Yeah.
So
you're still so loyal to that Mercedes brand, though, aren't you? If you think of all the cars, Smart, GLS. AMG one.
Oh, yeah. Are they all sponsoring?
All Mercedes.
No, I bought them all.
Right.
You're right. I was. My dad always had Merc, and so I've always been drawn to Merc. I've tried, BMs and Audis and Porsches and all the rest of it. But yeah, there's a simplicity to the functionality
and all those three
of
were
a Mercedes.
German as well.
Yeah, that I
it's
enjoy.
not just Mercedes.
But my ex-wife still got an Aston parked that I got a few years ago. I thought that would have got sold. Aston, the old DB9, so that must be like 20 odd years old now.
Yeah, they
but
came out
what a
that,
great ride that car had. It really, functionality you can take or leave. But as a GT for
6
cruising,
litre V12.
Yeah. I think nice piece of engineering. Yeah. I've still got my my old 280 SL, which I bought in '95, which I don't drive very often, but I like it. Same age as me, 71. Got an 84 short wheelbase convertible G-Class. God, it's all Merc. but it's not because I'm I don't have a Mercedes poster on the wall, but I like what I get with Mercs.
What do you get with Mercs?
Functionality. They start, they go,
Does the AMG one, is it?
Yeah, it starts and goes. Yeah, because they had to do everything to get that car reliable.
Yeah.
They'll never make money out of it, I assume.
Right.
Because of the time and effort. Why I said the GLS as a car, if I had one car, I would have the GLS. I like sitting a bit higher. I like having 7 seats if you need them, because 5 is never really enough if you've got friends in town. And I like being able to fit either a go-kart in the back with the seats down or a lot of baggage. Because if you go for like a GLE or whatever the equivalent would be from Porsche and all the rest of it, if you've got 4 adults with 4 big suitcases plus the handbags that go,
they're not getting in.
You're not getting in.
They're not getting in.
So, and I don't want a Vito van or an equivalent, because they just don't, it's a fucking van, isn't it? You can posh them out all you want, but it's still a van.
Yeah, of course it is.
Where, I don't know, I like the GLS and everything. So yeah, that's what would you guys? One car, never mind 3. What's your one car for your life? And you bear in mind your life involves friends and family.
This is easy.
If you say a 2-seater,
that
says a lot about your family.
Well, I was going to say a 2-seater, but I've got Rolls-Royce Cullinan.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Has it got a big boot though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not been in the boot. Yeah. I've had sex in the glove box.
Have you?
Huge.
That took a second just to land. Cullinan.
Okay.
Yeah, Cullinan. My wife's got a Cullinan, and she's had 4, I think now. It's actually spoilt me for cars.
Okay.
Because if I get in something like an 812 Competizione or an SF90, I love Ferrari. Oh God, I can't be bothered with it now. I'd like
too complicated.
Yeah. I just like it's quiet, it's nice, and it's comfortable.
4 people in the Cullinan, or could you get more?
5.
So you can get 5.
Yeah.
And there's no setup for little pop downs like in a taxi or something. Did Rolls in the old days not have to little sort of kiddie ride-alongs or?
No, what they do have, which costs.
I'm thinking 7. If I had to get 7 people in.
Yeah, well, you're not going to legally. But what they do have is they do this seat that it's designed for when you go shooting. It's like 30 grand. And when you put the boot down, these seats face that way. Wouldn't be safe to drive like that.
Yeah.
But,
but on the estate, you could.
Yeah, of course you could. Yeah. It'd be fun, actually.
Yeah. All right. And did you say?
Porsche Panamera Turbo S.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't have the need for 7 people. I don't have 7 friends. I don't like. I wouldn't. I probably would just want to outsource all of those things you said.
Yeah.
But I had the model that's just been superseded, and in terms of just being able to cruise, it's got the little.
And you're tall, so you've got plenty of space in there.
Exactly. So there's some cars you can write off because of my height. If you want to drive it like a sports car, you kind of can because of it's obviously very fast. I think they look pretty nice for that kind of car. I would Panamera Turbo S for me.
Yeah. So one final question then, if I may. What is the best undervalued car out there right now, do you think?
I was going to ask you that.
As a Scotsman,
I see what you're doing.
Looking for a deal.
Just before we answer that one, can I ask you why the smart convertible?
He lives in Monaco, mate.
I'm not asking you.
I'm not asking you.
I have had every smart since the very first smart came out. It just talks to me. The one that I've still got here right now as a little runaround is the last generation Little Brabus. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
So I can pull up outside the Hotel de Paris in that without fear of running down a valet park or curbing the wheels.
Yeah.
One of my friends is a heavyweight boxer.
Okay.
Derek.
Yeah.
And he drives a smart car. And he is as big as the smart car.
Yeah.
And when he unravels himself out of this car, like I met him a couple of weeks ago at a restaurant, and I know that's what he would turn up in because that's what he drives. And he opens the door, and when he just sort of unravels himself out of his car. Yeah. It would be more beneficial for him to get rid of one of the seats and put the steering wheel in the middle and just be a one-seater. You know,
a smart doesn't pretend to be a high-performance car. It doesn't pretend to be a motorway car. It is a little runaround, and it does that brilliantly. And my son has the little Citroen. Is it Amy? Is that what you call it? The little electric.
Yeah.
And
did one of them tip over in Monaco?
Yeah, it did exactly. So when the video of that came out, I was like, right, you've seen what the limit of the car is.
Yeah.
If you ever crash this car or put it on its side or anything, with the knowledge of what can happen if you drive like an idiot, that's you've lost all rights to cars.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be 18 and buying your own car. So the rules are, be sensible. Just don't. Teenagers do what teenagers do. You push the limits. But if you've seen somebody show you what happens, there's no point.
Did you see it?
No.
So on the what's the corner called?
The Lowe's hairpin, or
where the Fairmont is.
Yeah.
So these cars, they do like 40 miles an hour, 38 miles an hour.
Well, they rolled it.
They've gone into this corner doing 38 miles an hour. And they've just give it to, and it's just gone on its side and like nearly ended up in the middle of the Fairmont.
Yeah.
Wow.
It could have ended up someone being hurt.
Yeah.
Just because kids were being kids, or young adults were being young adults. But we've all been there. We've all fallen out of trees, and we've all put buggies on their sides. But if we wouldn't do it now, would we?
No.
Would we?
How many cars do you have in your collection?
Well, race cars wise, I've got. I started to touch on that earlier about. So my father had this belief system that I would make it through to Formula One. So he kept my first kart from 1982. He kept my last kart from 88. My Formula Ford 1600 89, Opel Lotus 1990, Formula 3 91. Formula 3000, 92. I've got the Williams 95. I've got the McLaren 96. I've got 3 or 4 of the Red Bulls. I can't actually quite remember. And DTM, Formula 1 car, and then a bunch of memorabilia and stuff like that. So I've got all those. And then road car wise, just the ones I mentioned. I'm not a big car collector, although it sounds like I've got a lot of cars.
I heard you say you got a G-Wagon short wheelbase convertible.
Yeah.
That's such a cool car.
It's great. Yeah, I bought it through the Young Classics, I think they call it in Germany. So it was an Italian. It was white when it was originally when they took it. Then I had it taken back, left the same interior. So it's got that kind of slightly quilted or whatever fabric interior. And then I had sort of sprayed a gunmetal grey, different wheels.
They make big money now, you know.
Really? I had it a few years now. I must have had it 8 years or 10 years, maybe long. You know how time passes so quickly. You realize just like my 40s disappeared in a blur of activity. So yeah, it's a bit like my old 280 SL. They probably get driven once or twice a year. But when you
Is that a
drive them,
Pagoda?
yeah.
Yeah. I've just sold a Pagoda 2 days ago. Really
They're
nice. Yeah.
beautiful old cars, aren't they? They've never been the sexy Mercs, but this is 1995. I'm earning my first proper salary. Didn't want a Ferrari, a Porsche, or whatever. I wanted an old classic, and there was a Gullwing, fully restored, $120,000, or there was a very nicely presented 280 SL for £30,000, and I'm like, Jesus, how am I going to tell my mum and dad that I've spent 120,000 on it? Could think back to 95.
Yeah.
Probably Ferraris were not costing that amount of money back then.
1995 was a 355, and they would have been mid 90s.
Right, there you go.
95
so I was like,
Grand
how
Prix.
can I tell them I've spent that amount of money in a car? So I went, I'll take the Pagoda, which I've had since then. Loved the car. Always said it would be for whoever the first child was, so that'll be my son. And it's probably, I paid 30 grand. It's probably worth, I don't know, 80 grand or something. I've subsequently had it fully restored. So the engine's been completely done. The body's been fully resprayed. So I've spent a fortune on it.
Right-hand drive?
It's a UK car.
Manual or
auto?
I mean, I'm happy to give you 80 grand.
Anyway,
I'm surprised it took that long for you.
I really appreciate how generous and open you are.
Thank you very much.
That means it's worth a lot more.
I'm just here to try and do a service.
But as I say, it'll be. I like the fact it's the same age as me. It was first registered April 71, so it was probably built, I don't know, end of 70, beginning of, and I just like the fact it's same age and that my son can have it. So it's not. But the point being, it's not worth a great deal. Whereas, of course, if I bought the fully restored Gullwing, 1.5, 2, think of a number.
Yeah.
So I clearly wasn't a visionary, and instead of going, but I think it's a mentality at the time. Although I could have afforded the 120 grand,
You couldn't have justified it.
I couldn't, but I didn't know how to be able to look my mum. Can I even remember pulling up with the 280 SL and my dad going, "What the hell's this?"
Yeah.
Because it was an old car.
Yeah.
There wasn't that mentality in the mid 90s about old cars. Old cars were kind of quirky.
But that's why they were the value they were.
Yeah.
There was no real demand for them.
Yeah.
There's only really enthusiasts that, bought a classic car in the mid 90s.
That would be me.
I mean, you've got a Testarossa.
Yeah.
And you've had.
Yeah, I
you've
just
got
saw
a few-
I went to the unveiling of the new one yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Actually, my buddy here, who lives just next door to us, has got a white Testarossa, which he's had for fucking, I don't know, 20 odd years or something. But he doesn't drive it very often, and he's just looking to sell it. What do you reckon that's worth? If it's in good condition, goes to Ferrari in Maranello to some of the old F1 boys, could they have to drop it to take the belt or something?
Yeah, take the engine out. Yeah, cam belt.
Yeah, and so he's got a good relation with them. Like his wedding ring is made from some material at Ferrari and all that. He's a big Ferrari guy in that respect. So
that's such a cool color to have it in white.
White, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great looking car, but apparently it's quite a thing to keep it running.
Yeah, and it's not the.
It's attractive.
It's not
to
the best
drive.
thing in the world to drive.
It's attractive.
Yeah.
He's got one. I don't want to offend him, but
You don't care.
Yeah.
You do not care. It's attractive to drive, but you only drive it a few times
car,
a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got
Couple
Miami
100?
vibe. Depends on the mileage. I mean, so there's different variants of a Testarossa.
Yeah.
So if it was one of the very, very early ones, one of the sort of the mid 80s, it was called a monoscepigo, which means one wing mirror. So it had one high wing mirror.
Yeah. I think this might have, yeah.
If it's a one wing mirror car, it could be worth £250,000.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's not, then it's worth half, 125.
It's actually fun. You could, your cars, and it's great when someone knows about their industry to be able to. So actually asking the question was more about it because I find it interesting to hear about someone who knows their trade than it's because it really matters what the price of the car is. But it's an amazing, when people are into cars, of which I'm not really into cars, so I couldn't tell you, whatever the actual Mercedes variant numbers are for all the cars. And it's not because it's not interesting, it's just not of need for me to carry that information around in my head, because I can get the information, can't I? I don't need it. I just don't need it. You do carry that information around your head because it's your business, it's your passion, and it's what gives you a competitive advantage over someone that doesn't have that information.
Yeah,
And you always just want to be ready for the sale, don't you?
well, you've got to know your product, Rob.
Yeah.
You've got to know your products. And I'm a bit like I surprise myself sometimes. It's just information that you store in the back of your head. It's like any. I mean, you could talk to you about the engine in a 1995 Williams.
I remember the RPMs.
You would know,
yeah.
and you wouldn't even know that you know it until you said it. And that's kind of what I'm like with cars. I think to myself, fuck me, I know a lot of shit. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff that no one else cares about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But somebody does, and that.
Yeah, and somebody does exactly. Yeah.
The difference getting the sale or not getting the
Yeah,
sale. So.
you got to know. The worst thing I say to my team, someone asks them a question about a car and they go, "Let me check." That for me is a red light. That's you've got.
What if they don't know? Sorry to talk over you, but if they don't know, what would be the better way of wording that?
I think he's saying they've got to know.
Yeah, they've got to know. Yeah, they've got to know.
Yeah, but you can't know everything. So what is your moment of? For instance, what's the wording that?
If you were coming to the showroom to look at a specific car, if I didn't know every single thing about that car, I would make sure I did before you got there. That's the way I am. So when you say to me, how many owners is this car? I go, I'll have to double check on that.
Yeah.
Well, you knew I was coming today. You knew this was a question I was going to ask. So you should know this, and that's, there's no other way of, the only way of wording it is I don't know, let me check. I mean, that's basically whichever way you sugarcoat it, that's the case. Yeah. But I don't think that's being on top of your job. Okay. You should know these things before you come.
Have you ever been caught? Is that because you were caught short once and you kicked yourself?
I still get caught sometimes by it, and it frustrates me, it annoys me. Yeah. So I try and translate that back to my team that you don't know as much as me, and even I don't know some things. So if what you don't know, you got 2 hours. He's on his way from London. You got 2 hours to know every single thing about that car, and might be half an hour before he comes. I'll say, when was the last time that car was serviced, and where was it serviced? And sometimes they come back and they go, serviced at Maranello in April. Yeah. Right, good. Because that's the question you got to get asked. And for me, if I'm buying something, say not a car, whatever it may be, I wouldn't want someone to go, let me check. I want to know, I'm here to buy it. I just need you to give me the information. And then it's you don't need to sell it to me.
Can you tell very quickly whether someone, they've made the decision, but they just need to ask a few questions, as in they're going to buy it.
Yeah.
But there's a few questions just to give them comfort.
Exactly.
And in the same token, can you tell they're not fucking buying this?
100%.
And I now have to go through the process of answering some questions.
So, the worst thing someone can say when they walk into our showroom is it possible for a test drive? Initially. Yes, I get that later on in the conversation, of course. But if you start the greetings with, is it okay if we go for a test drive today? Well, that tells me you've come to try and test drive a £500,000 car today, which the answer to that is no, we don't do test drives without a deposit. Of course we do, but not to you. Simple as that. And other times...
Well, I'd probably fucking curb it. So I wouldn't. I wouldn't let me test drive until I bought it. You know what? Fucking guy took it out for a test drive.
Ex-Formula 1 driver.
Other times, people just need a little nudge. They're here to buy the car. They're looking for a reason not to buy the car. So when they ask you a question, you need to answer the question in the correct manner, confidently. You're giving them confidence. You're protruding your confidence onto them, so they're now confident. And if they feel confident, then they're buying. Simple as that. Yeah. When you're negative, I'm not sure, I don't know, and I'll have to check, and then I keep going back to the computer. I'd be like, what's this guy doing? Yeah. I've lost interest. I'm bored now. Yeah. I want to talk about the car, and you want to read about it on a computer.
Yeah. One thing that I'm not good at when it comes to buying cars is I really don't care that much about the detail of spec. I just give me all the things that a normal person would want, whoever that normal person is. So I'm not going, fuck, how do I open the windows? Because I didn't spec that would be a bad example. But it's a bit like, when you're doing a house, you don't spec hot and cold running water.
No, it just comes with it.
Assume that it will be there.
Yeah.
Hopefully, under
Like
the
you
right
want
tabs.
you want a rear camera because you're used to a car with a rear camera, and
Yeah.
you're just assuming it comes with a rear camera. Yeah.
So I fall into that category of it's not really that important to me for all of those micro details, but I understand that some people are really, really into everything, right down to the stitching. And if I don't see stitching, I'm perfectly happy. If I'm seeing stitching, I'll be going, well, why did I spec red stitching?
Yeah.
Could I be like, I don't have red stitching in my trousers,
Yeah.
my underpants. Why did I decide I wanted red stitching in my seats of my car? But I understand it looks really cool.
Yeah, I
just don't want it.
I can come across people who are obviously we don't sell new cars, as in a car could be a day old and we've got it in stock, but you haven't spec'd it with us. We're not a main agent, and somebody will say, Carl, can you get me a whatever it may be? Let's just say a SF90 Ferrari. If I haven't got one in stock, I say, yeah, I can get you one. Let me know kind of what your criteria is. If it's going to come back and like, if you say, I just don't want white or I don't want black, then that's fine. But some people are like, right, I really like the historic racing Verdi, blah, blah, blah. That was, a tailor-made option. I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
You've got no chance.
This isn't Ferrari.
You've got no chance. Yeah. And I've got to have that. I've got to have that. Like you got to give me a bit more leeway here. You got to tell me it's got to have those wheels. It's got to be one of these three colors.
Yeah.
The rest, as you say, kind of goes along with the ride. It's going to have some kind of stitching. It's going to have carbon seats probably because they all do. It's going to have vehicle lift, like that kind of just be less specific because you're giving me a mountain to climb it. And then when you find it. Oh, it's too expensive. For fuck's sake. So it's I much prefer buying and selling my current stock than going out and finding something.
You never got the chance to answer what is the undervalued steel right now. Steel's
told me the SF90 18 months ago and it's dropped nearly 100
Mate,
since.
I can't believe the prices that they are.
So you're going to...
Why is it
Have
dropped?
you driven an SF90? No. Oh my God.
I mean, they're like half price now, aren't they?
It's basically a LaFerrari. It's 1,000 horsepower V8. Well, a LaFerrari is a V12, but this is a V8 hybrid.
Yeah.
The hybrid's killing it. People don't really want the hybrid.
Yeah.
I get it.
I guess the people will have had the odd technical issue with that. Changing the battery packs if you have an issue is an expensive process.
Yeah, it's just very expensive.
So it's another distraction, isn't it?
Yeah. What price bracket? Because there's loads of undervalued cars at the minute. There's loads of great investments out there. But what kind of price bracket are we talking?
Up to £500,000.
Okay. Well, a bit more than that, you'll buy a 599 GTO, Ferrari 599 GTO. That's super undervalued, I think, at the minute. I think the most undervalued car at the minute, they have gone up, so they're not as undervalued as they were, but a Bugatti Veyron.
Interesting. Bugatti was in my mind because there's this one lone little shop at Rascasse Corner, which has got one Bugatti sitting. I don't know if you've seen it in Monaco.
Yeah.
And when I drive past there on either my scooter or in my Smart or my Brompton bicycle or any variation of whatever car I'm in, I'm always thinking, I wonder how many walk-ins he gets today. It's like the showroom is the size of the car.
Yeah.
It must be wonderful, but it must be slightly soul-destroying as well.
Well, you've got one product to sell, and that one product isn't for everybody. Like you say,
amazing piece of engineering.
Those cars changed the way.
What are Veyrons now? What they start?
I've got two at the minute, and one of them, the cheapest one, is £1,350. But that should be a £5 million car.
Didn't you have one at like £950 at one point?
Yeah, that was the car, and I bought it back.
Right.
Yeah.
So why hasn't it?
Running costs.
Okay. Yeah.
People are, so I owned a Veyron for 5 years, and it was at the time when the only place to service these cars was Bugatti. Mm-hmm. And when I say they don't even lube you up before they fuck you, is an understatement. Like, they don't take you out for dinner. They just go straight in. Dry.
So a few $100,000 for a basic
But
service.
like but you've got no choice at this point.
Yeah.
So tires $27,000, service $20,000, wheels 50. Every third set of tires, you need a £52,000 set of wheels. It's all bollocks. You don't need any of this. It's just what they say.
Yeah.
If something goes on, the car's got 4 turbos, 10 radiators. Each radiator's $10,000.
Yeah.
Like it's an aeroplane basically.
Yeah.
But as they've got older, I mean, them cars are nearly 20 years old. A Bugatti is now, a Veyron, nearly 20 years old. So now there is these independent specialists, recognised and respected specialists who do it for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
And all the techs
still make a profit.
Yeah, and all the techs are ex Bugatti, so they know what they're doing. I mean, for instance, a quick story. I've said it on many podcasts with Rob before, but I'm sure you've not heard it. I had an issue with my car, a very, very small issue. I took it in for a service, and the wing mirror toggle had like the slightest bit of play in it. Like literally, if you touched it, you could just wiggle it, but it moved like a mill.
Oh, that's terrible.
But that pissed me off terribly.
I'm angry now. Yeah, see it.
Yeah. I mean, that I nearly took it to the scrapyard.
That would never happen in German.
No.
I thought it wasn't going to be a big deal. So the service manager at the time, bearing in mind, I've just given them probably $45,000 for a service and a set of tires. So I'm like, can you do me a favor? Can you just look at that for me? Yeah. Everything worked. Yeah. Just got a bit of play. Can you just tighten it or something? Yeah. I don't care. And he said, okay, no problem. We'll come back. We'll email you with a quote later. That's exactly the face that I pulled. So I was like, okay, that already sounds expensive. So anyway, David, they come back and it was £9,000 plus VAT. So I was like, look, there's certain things in life I understand and there's certain things I don't understand. If you can make me understand this and make me understand the value of this, then if that's what it is, that's what it is. Yeah. So justify it to me, please. Well, Carl, you need a new door card, you need a new mirror motor, you need a new... I said, no, I don't need any of this. My switch is just a little bit loose. I don't need any of this. Well, that's the cost. Here we don't repair things, we just replace them.
So I'm fitters.
So I'm like, okay, wonderful. So I thought, well, it's not bothering me that much. So it's fine, we'll leave that. Mentioned it to a friend of mine who he actually makes carbon fiber components for certain Formula One cars.
Okay.
And he also had a Veyron, so I know he knows his way around the car. So I said, look, can you have a look at that for me? So yeah, okay. He said, just leave it with me. He said, and I'll come pick it up in a couple of days. I said, okay, no problem. So I went back. He said, it's done. I said, oh yeah, was it any? I'm thinking, I don't know. Is he going to tell me it's $5,000 or I don't know? So he said, oh, it wasn't a big deal. He said, I said, what do I owe you? He said, well, no. He said, there was parts. He said, and there was labour. There was the parts and labour. So I said, okay.
Is that hard labour or was it soft labour?
So I was like, so what's
involved?
So what's the damage then? He said, well, I couldn't buy one of the parts. I had to buy 5 because they came in a pack of 5. So I'm thinking, fuck, I wish I'd went to Bugatti at this point. So he said the parts were 89 pence and it took me 20 minutes. So I was like, that's unbelievable. He said, Carl, they come from a Volkswagen Transporter. It's the Volkswagen Transporter part. So my point about...
Sorry to talk over you. That's borderline fraudulent, isn't it?
Yeah. Every single part that is on a Bugatti... The part number's Audi Volkswagen. Yeah. Every part. Every single part. And I mean, how they get, but at the time you never had a choice. Yeah. But now you live and you learn, you know these things, and people now realize that, hang on, I can do that and I can do that and I can replace that part because it's an Audi Volkswagen part.
So do you think that's why they're starting to go up again now?
100%.
People have figured this out.
100%. I said this to somebody the other day, because obviously I shot myself in the foot a bit with my stories on running costs of Bugatti. Yeah. And they're like, Carl, you said, they cost so much to run. I'm like, well, listen, it's £1 million plus car. You're not going to run it for 500 quid a year. Yeah. I said, but I think you can keep a Bugatti on the road and run it for 15 grand a year. Now, your Aventador
It's more than
will
that,
cost you
yeah.
10 grand a year.
It's more than that.
Yeah. So like all of a sudden, it's very acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, it's and now they're like, oh, okay. So, you know, instead of being 800 grand, they're now 1.3, 1.5. One just sold at auction recently for 2 million. That needed 150 grand spending on it at Bugatti. So, you know, I think they're super undervalued. I think they will be. There'll be a £3 million car shortly, and I think there'll be a £5 million car in 5-6 years.
Okay.
So
I appreciate the insight.
yeah.
Would you buy a car for an investment, or would you want to buy one that you also like?
I guess the answer to that is, well, would I? Yes. Have I? No. And
You always buy cars you like.
yeah.
Well, Carl, you advise that, don't you?
Yeah,
If you're buying
of course.
something like
One of my
because then
invest-
you can hold on to it.
Somebody who I have different types of customers. I have a customer kind of who wants a car to use, and if they lose money, and it is what it is. They accept last life. Then you have other people who want to buy a car and don't want to drive it. They want it purely for an investment. So they'll say, "What should I buy?" So I'll say, "Well, what do you like?" Well, it makes no difference what I like. What's going to earn me money?
Yeah.
I was like, well, it does make a difference, because if you buy a car you don't like, the minute it goes up 10%, you're going to sell it. But if you love the car, you won't sell it till it probably goes up 100%. So that's the car you should buy. So tell me first what you like. So if you bought a car, you know, listen, I know you say you're not that into cars, but I'm sure you are into cars, and I know you know a lot about, you know, classics and cars to buy. You wouldn't buy one because you don't like it, but you'd also know what is a good investment and what's not. Like, we know a 300 SL for 120 grand would have been a great investment.
Yeah.
You even knew that at the time, but you couldn't justify 120 grand at that point.
Yeah.
So, you got to love the car. If you love a car, you can hang on to it and you see the benefits.
Yeah. Yeah. Given the industry I've been involved in, I should have clearly been more invested in vehicles, tech around mobility and things like that. But I've just enjoyed doing what I do. And when somebody does well, instead of me going, "Oh, for fuck's sake, why did I not do that?" I go, "Oh, well done them for doing it."
Yeah.
You know, so I think hopefully life is long and there's opportunities and to do things that make you just know, don't you? I assume you're exactly the same. We passionately do things that make sense to us when it makes sense to us. And once we've decided that's what we're doing, that's what we're doing. And people are coming with us or they're stepping aside until we do what we want to do. And that's a pleasure. That's part of life, isn't it? Be able to do the things we enjoy to do, because it derives, whether it's a financial reward or whether it's just the emotional reward of being involved. A bit like you saying some guys buying cars they know they'll lose money on. I completely get that.
Yeah. And are you interested in investing in business?
Yeah, I'm interested, but it's not an obsessive thing.
No. Are you obsessed about anything?
I wouldn't say. Well, when I'm doing something, then the detail of what I'm doing, I would say, was slightly obsessive. But I wouldn't say, I'm obsessed by health. I'm not obsessed by whether I make or lose money. I'm not obsessed by. I would like people to live that I know healthy and well, and with minimum trauma, things like that. No, I'm not obsessed by anything.
No. Were you obsessed with Formula One when you were a driver?
100%.
Yeah, there you go.
Those days are behind me.
Yeah,
Is that why you're not obsessed about anything anymore?
It's yes.
Yeah.
It was all encompassing. It was what I thought about when I went to sleep. Is what I thought about when I woke up. Anyone getting in the way was just, you're out. I'm going this direction. So it was a wonderful opportunity to know yourself and how far you can push yourself and how you can work situations to get more out of environments, out of people, therefore delivering more results for yourself. It was great. It's wonderful. But it's done.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on Ferrari at the moment? Because we haven't even talked about Ferrari at all.
Biggest name.
Yeah.
The most iconic name in automotive. I can't imagine anywhere in the world you couldn't show
maybe the most
a picture
famous
of a Ferrari.
Yeah.
And people wouldn't know what it was, even if they were on an island with no cars.
Yeah.
They would
Is
know.
it like the most famous brand in the world? I think?
Has to be. Yeah, the brand equity is unbelievable, isn't it? But
they've just halved their allocation in the UK for cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Because
Thank
of
God.
because of.
What do you mean? Thank God.
Thank God.
Why?
because the market's
Because the
getting
residuals
saturated.
were
They're
killing.
getting saturated. The residuals is killing them.
What are they using? Are they using Brexit as a reason for that, or
or the
I don't know,
UK
first of all.
economy? I mean, I was speaking to someone yesterday about it when I saw the new Testarossa, and they were mentioning residuals. I just can't help if it's to do with the state of the UK right now.
Yeah.
So
there's two things, isn't it? There's Ferrari, the automotive brand, which is incredibly successful, and I'm sure will continue wherever the market is. It will continue to be successful because it's just iconic, isn't it? And I assume reliabilities and all the things that would be a requirement for a modern high performance car are pretty good.
They're very reliable.
Yeah, there you go. As a Formula One team, there's no question that they have not performed at the level that the brand and the history and all of that deserves. But it's people, isn't it? It's not the name above the door. It's always going to be the people that are operationally either designing the car, building the car, managing all of that. They haven't managed to get all of that working for several years. I'm sure they will again at a certain point. Certainly, they've got two great drivers. Controversial, I know, to say that Lewis isn't as good as he was, but that's a belief. It's not a fact, but it just feels he's not as good as he was, but he's still a very good racing driver. Anyone who's a Lewis fan and didn't like me, he completely hates me now, because when you're obsessive,
comments going to blow up.
because when you're obsessive about somebody, how dare you say anything against your favorite driver? But sports people have their time, whether it's Ronaldo or whether it's Federer or whether it's Lewis. So if they get that winning design team together again, then I'm sure they'll win world championships.
Do you obviously? The more I take notice to everything around the hotel, and you talk about your cars and everything is Mercedes. The picture on the wall there is of a Mercedes. All your cars are Mercedes. You drove for how long for Mercedes?
9 years.
9 years. So you're very much.
Well, actually, 12 if you include DTM.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Is it every professional driver's dream to drive for Ferrari?
Apparently.
But I'm asking you, was it yours?
Well, I had the chance to go to Ferrari in '96 instead of going to McLaren, and I met with Jean Todt, went to his apartment just off the Champs-Élysées, spoke about what the opportunity was, and it just didn't feel. I don't know. I think I'm a Brit, and I can relate to British teams and British work ethic and British engineering, and I chose to go with McLaren. Eddie Irvine went to Ferrari, and he made a brilliant career out of it. He accepted that Michael was the man, didn't swim against that tide, won Grand Prix, earned very well. He's more of a wheeler dealer than I was, so I think he was more resilient to being able to handle that environment. I think I would have been a bit of fish out of water, even though based here in Monaco, not far, an hour heli.
Because like the culture, the Italian culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think I would have. With the British team, when someone's bullshitting you, or you sense when someone's bullshitting you. It's very difficult to gauge a foreigner when they're going, "Oh yes, no problem, we'll do it." It's quite difficult where you can tell. I just like British engineering, so I stuck with British teams.
Yeah.
What's the most overrated car you've ever driven?
I can't have it. Not something comes immediately to my head, but there'll be, I think, probably examples if we go not that far back, and we're talking about Ferraris where they were all noise and straight line performance and no functionality. I'm sure. I sat in I drove one of the original Countages in Miami last year for a feature, and is that the guy that is Pagani Zonda or something? He was
so Horatio.
He
designed
that.
the last variant, the 25th anniversary.
I'm sitting in that thing trying to drive it going, this is a really cool looking car, but there's no part of this makes any sense from a driving point of view. So I think there's many, that's my most recent example of something that looks great. You would definitely want one sitting in your car garage from a, look how cool this is, Wolf of Wall Street type.
You think they're really bad cars, don't you?
Well, I owned a Countach for 4 years. It was my dream car growing up as a kid. Dream, like when my mum or dad would put me to bed, instead of putting on like a Disney movie for me to go to bed at 7 o'clock, they'd put on the Cannonball Run. John Candy. And the Countach was the car, wasn't it? And like I was obsessed with that car, loved it, absolutely loved it. And when I was doing well as younger and I could afford to buy one, I bought one. I owned it for 4 years. I drove it once.
Oh, no way.
It is a piece of corruption. It really. And I've got one at the minute that is for sale, and I've just sold one 2 weeks ago. And it's a selling point. People buy it and they go, "These are really shit to drive, aren't they?" And I go, yeah, it's really bad, but it is the coolest car in the world. I mean,
so
it really
then
is.
there you go. I've just experienced that.
Yeah,
when I was doing the filming.
your experience with that car is exactly the experience.
That almost sounds like it's a selling feature of the car.
Well, 100%.
If you can handle how bad it is to drive, you've got something over the other guy.
No, it's 100%. Your experience was absolutely nail on the head. I owned it for 4 years because I love to look at it, and I was the coolest person I knew.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I've got a Countach. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Martin Hines had one when I was a when I was a teenager. He had the white Countach.
Yeah, I mean it's so cool. And if you had one back in the day when they were new, you must have been like a rock star.
Yeah.
But I'd rather walk somewhere.
What about the most underrated car you've ever driven?
A C220 diesel estate Mercedes.
Everything's Mercedes.
That car drives itself. It'll do 750 miles in a tank of gas. It is just... It's just such great value for driving money. If you're not interested in something that looks good, sounds good, or anything, if you're just looking for something you can comfortably sit in, plenty of space in the boot if you want to get your baggage is obviously important.
Yeah.
I travel hand carry everywhere, but anyway, point being, if you're traveling with others, it's good to have the space. I wouldn't rate its sort of rear seat quality and comfort, but I don't have to sit there. So, surprisingly uninteresting vehicles would get me excited.
I love a Volkswagen Golf.
There you go.
Love a Volkswagen Golf.
Yeah.
Pro rata, pound for pound, my opinion, best car in the world.
Probably for the same reasons
100%.
you drive it and it drives itself. You'll understand that when you drive some cars...
Shall I just leave the room? Just leave you guys to it?
No, but some cars... The road is doing whatever the road's doing, and you're just sitting there, and your hand's just covering the steering wheel, and the car somehow just follows the road. It doesn't follow the road like this. Some cars you're like, fucking hell, have I driven before? This is all a bit an adventure. And other cars just find the road. You're just nudging it, tickling it.
I think I've done over 1 million miles in a Volkswagen Golf.
Yeah.
How?
I had Volkswagen Golfs for 13 years and more, 14 years.
Yeah.
And I would do 70, 80,000 miles a year easy in that car.
Yeah.
It's like home.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the only reason I bought the Bugatti. It's just a big Golf. It's just a big Golf.
It's $1 million Golf.
It's a Golf.
Yeah.
I love a Volkswagen. So I get what you're saying about the C220. It's an answer that not a lot of people would respond, but I get it.
I'm pretty sure you can't even visualize what that car is.
No, I can't. I know exactly what it is. I think I got in one from the airport. Back, not a new one, but one from the airport to here.
And I only ended up with the car in the UK for my son's karting, because where my place is in Chelsea, there used to be at Albert Bridge, there was a Mercedes dealership in the corner, which has become like a, is it Cannes?
Yeah, Upsall Khan bought that. Yeah.
And I was walking by and I went, I need a car to go karting. I don't want anything that's going to, be complicated, stand out. It was in the window. I went and said, is that available? And they went, yeah. I went, okay.
So you would actually go into a Mercedes dealer as Joe Blogs and buy a car like a normal person?
The one that
even
was
the relationship you have with Mercedes.
Absolutely, yeah.
You wouldn't call them up and say, can you just send me a fucking C-Class, please?
Well, I have done that on other occasions, but there's times where it's just quicker and easier not to have to go through all the process.
The salesman must have went off.
And
he must have can you imagine? Imagine telling his mates in the pub, they wouldn't have believed it.
No.
Anyway, it was available. I bought it. I don't know how many years old it is now. And it shuttles between my place in Scotland and my place in London, depending where my son and the guy that looks after him in karting, Dave Boyce, is probably in it today. Or I've got a Porsche diesel as well. It was a 3-litre, which those two cars kind of get. The Porsche was because I could tow the karting trailer.
Yeah, it's like a Cayenne.
Yeah,
the Cayenne,
exactly. Big, torquey diesel engine.
Yeah.
So depending on, the guy that looks after my karting's based up in Scotland, but most of the stuff happens down south. So the vehicles end up getting moved around, and occasionally I'll end up in one of them. And whenever I'm in America, I'm like, Put my hands in my pockets. This fucker will drive itself.
So you still actively do karting?
I don't. No, but my son, he's out in a shifter kart today.
So my son, we said before, he's 7.
My ribs couldn't take it.
Like, there's nothing that I think the coolest thing in the world to be is a Formula One driver. I mean, it's the coolest job in the world. I mean, it's the most dangerous job in the world, and obviously you deserve to be a legend because of what you put your life at risk every time you're in the car. But if my son was a Formula One driver, I would just be absolutely besotted, be over the moon with it. What's the first step? What do you do?
Got to get into karting, and you'll see there if there's natural talent. And the natural talent, what is more important than natural talent is the work ethic, is that little hunger in the eye. When I see young kids having a sort of helmet on the ground or gloves on the ground, I'm always, and this is not an exact science, but when I see that, I'm always a little bit suspicious as to whether they've really got, even if they're a winner, if they've got the mental control that's necessary. Because yes, I've seen Senna get angry and Mansell and all the rest of it, but there's a controlled and almost, I'm doing this anger in a controlled way to show you guys, rather than that uncontrolled anger where you think, fucking hell, that guy's lost the plot. I'm not sure the greats, of which I have observed, I've not walked in their shoes, have got that kind of uncontrollable anger when it's
they just switch on and switch off.
It's all, I don't want to say contrived, but I don't know what the other word might be. It's, they know, they're conscious of everything they're doing all the time. Even when Schumacher was coming down the pit lane to talk to me in Spa 98 when he crashed into the back of me when he was leading the Grand Prix, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew who he was pushing to one side. He knew the cameras were on. That wasn't uncontrolled. That was
intentional.
I am deflecting all of the responsibility on my mistake as well as his mistake on him. If you Donald Trump it, people will believe it. So so you get him into karting, find out if they get any talent. I think that you can finesse talent, no question. I don't think you can manufacture a miracle, to use a Robbie Williams line from one of his songs. But I think you can definitely bring them to a higher level by consistency of practice and testing and developing. But the one thing I think that you'll never do, bold statement, I can't possibly know this because I haven't done a study, is you can't take out the natural DNA. Some people are naturally, whatever, and some people are, you see the anger or the frustration in their eyes, but they're able to just control it.
Hard at a young age, though. So hard.
Oh yeah, 100%. But
so hard.
But some, the old expression, you see the wise in the eyes, or you can see there's an old soul within that young person.
Yeah.
I'm sure Max would have had that. At an early age, or Lewis definitely had, behind his little boyish eyes at 11, 12 years old. The eyes had more knowledge and experience than
Max. Obviously had a great teacher. I mean, Lewis, obviously his dad wasn't involved in motorsport, motor racing, so he pretty much, it was talent, isn't it? It really is. And I'm sure Max is like absolutely loaded with talent, but also must have helped him growing up with his dad being a successful Formula One driver, giving him direction and giving him knowledge and giving him, advice.
And he really lived it. I think that I remember Jos testing a Formula One car for the first time in Estoril. I was with Williams, and he'd gone out. It was a Footwork Arrows sponsored car. I think it was Jackie Oliver was the team owner at that time, and he'd gone out already. He'd only been in Formula 3, so he'd gone karting to Formula 3. Really made a big name for himself. Came to do the test and was super quick. And I remember being in the toilets, the public toilets, with him on the next morning, and I was going, God, you did really well yesterday. You I guess you just keep it clean today. And he was like, wait till you see what I did this morning. Right, within half an hour, fucking destroyed the car. A bit of overconfidence, split the barrier, but went straight to Benetton alongside Michael, and he was just too young, brilliant talent, but he didn't have the maturity and all the rest of it. And then his career did that. Where I think that if it had been managed better, Jos would have been the Max of his generation.
Maybe if Jos would have had a Jos.
There you go. And he didn't. Yeah. And he didn't get along with his father, apparently, and all that sort of thing. So I think what he did was take all of his learnings and experience and channel that into guiding Max. So Max clearly had talent, given the opportunity, shown the ropes in terms of what the work ethic. And as a family, they've created one of the best racing drivers.
Yeah.
And Max, if he was here, he would be just like any one of us. He'd be very grounded, very humble, which maybe isn't always how he's publicly perceived. And I don't think that every other driver in Formula One would be as grounded and humble if he was in the room with us. You know, sometimes you get people that you're not quite sure, can I say that? Are they going to be offended? Some of the others are a bit like that, where he'd be like, yeah, sure. What you see is what you get.
It's one of those things, as soon as the helmet goes on, though, it's...
Oh, yeah, that's when they become the racing driver.
Yeah. And that's the only time you see him on TV.
Yeah.
When do you see Max in a restaurant?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you see him in a place of business, place of work.
Yeah.
So, David, final question. Is there a secret you've never shared or a story you've never told?
There's definitely a secret I've never shared, because, we all need a wee secret, don't we?
Well, we've come out all the way to Monaco. We'd like to leave without it.
My grandfather used to tell me as a wee boy, the only way to keep a secret is to whisper it up an area that might be... I'm not going to say it out loud in case someone gets offended, but you can imagine that area. And as a wee boy, I never understood. And as I got older, I was like, I understand. Because the minute you tell a secret to someone, it's no longer a secret. But if you whisper it in a particular area that unlikely anyone's ever going to hear it, then that is a secret. And a story that's never been told. Look, I've had an amazing life. I've seen and experienced things and been in places that a boy from a village in Scotland was not meant to be. But actually, having said that he was not meant to be, I can reflect now on the fact I was exactly where I was meant to be, because that's the journey of life. It takes you to places, and you're either open to that journey, or sometimes people are quite happy just being where they are. And it's not that they couldn't go to those places. They just don't want to. And that's great. We were all different.
And are there any regrets or anything you do differently?
Of course, yeah. But no, I say that, of course, because I acknowledge that if I had the knowledge when I was younger, I would have made better decisions. You
want to pick one?
Well, let's put it in financial sense, because I think that people always love to hear about others' losses. But when I was leading the 95 Adelaide Grand Prix, I had qualified second to Damon. I'd chosen to go with less downforce, which compromised qualifying, but Adelaide had a very long straight, and I was pretty confident that, one, I would outstart him, because I was always a good starter, and if I didn't, I would pass him somewhere. So as it happens, I didn't outstart him, but I did pass him, leading the Grand Prix easily, and came into the pit stop. I got more of a blip on the downshift than I expected. So your automatic shifts, they were still in their infancy at that time. We'd gone to auto in 94. So this was the 95 season. Did the downshift, and it pushed the car on a little bit, and I didn't leave a margin, got on the dust, hit the pit wall. The bonus for Williams would have been £500,000 if I'd won that Grand Prix. That's what the win bonus was at the time. And I'd signed to McLaren for 96, 97. And as part of the contract, if I won 2 Grand Prix in 95, they would add $1 million to each of the years of the contract. So that crash, I think at the time, £500,000 in 95 was about $750,000. Let's call it that for ease of the story. So that cost me $2.75 million. That one moment of not leaving a margin when I was easily leading, and the only thing that was going to stop me would be reliability. But what did stop me and cost me $2.75 million was not just the inexperience of youth, and just didn't brake a meter earlier. Because if the engine did overblip, I would have been able to go, ooh, fucking hell, the old software's a bit...
Yeah.
But I didn't give myself that margin.
Ouch.
So,
and with inflation, that's a lot more now.
Well, it would have been a wee bit more to distribute to my ex-wife.
Well, that's a good way of looking at it.
That's a great way to end the show,
exactly how I
isn't
would
it?
look at it.
Yeah.
You've done yourself a favour, if anything.
Sorry?
You've done yourself a favour.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
David, I want to say thank you very much for giving us all this time. It's
you.
been great. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.